Let me open in prayer. Lord, I thank you. God, what an honor it is to be here, Lord, and to partner with you in raising all of these little ones. And so, God, we recognize that the holidays, that the day that we celebrate your birthday is coming up. And God, we want to do a good job teaching our kids the truth about this Christmas and about this holiday season. And so we pray, Lord, that we would do an excellent job, that we would be good stewards of the money that you've given us and the time you've given us, and that we'd be wise with our efforts and how we spend our days. So, Lord, we pray that you would come and that you would give us your insight and your holy creativity and your imagination as to how we can be better moms and parent these little ones during this special season. In your name, amen. So I don't have a whole lot of deep spiritual insight today. We're going to have some fun. We're going to be talking about some real practical tools, okay, about how to plan, how to prioritize, and how to prepare, and how to practice the most important truths for this holiday season, particularly Thanksgiving and Christmas, okay? So what is something that you we're going to do a little bit of a table talk for a minute, okay? What is something that can be the most challenging or the most stress-filled aspect for you during the holidays? Okay, whatever is mentioned. So if you wouldn't mind, amongst your tables, spend just like 1 or 2 minutes telling the girls at your table what is the most challenging or stress-filled aspect of the holidays, and whatever's mentioned most. If you could have one person, when we're done doing table talk, shout it out to me, I would love to know, because hopefully the idea is that we're going to be able to talk about some of those things and answer maybe some questions and leave with a better plan so that those things are not as challenging anymore. Okay, so just for a minute or two, go ahead and talk with your table. What's the most challenging or stress-filled for you? All right, make sure everybody gets a chance to say something. 1 more minute. All right, go ahead and wrap up if you could. What was the most mentioned? What do you think? What was had the most weight, or what was the most mentioned? Go ahead and wrap up in a few seconds. All right, let's start over here at this table. What do you guys think? What was the most challenging or the most stress-filled thing for your holidays? Juggling family demands. Yep, I hear you. Us too, me too. Okay, right here, what do you guys think? Was it? Gift giving. Right. It is so true. We're going to talk about that also. Okay, this table, Trying to juggle and balance it. I understand. Absolutely. What about this table?
We said gift giving too.
Gift giving?
Having to shop for everyone and have it all be intentional and wonderful and fabulous.
Right, because you want it to be special for every single person, every single thing. I totally understand. Okay, this table?
It's all hard. Schedules, money to buy the gifts, and in-laws and people that rub you the wrong way, and you're stuck in a room together.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I agree. I understand. Next table in the back? One more time. I'm so... Okay, extended family. And the mamas with the babies and the strollers in the back? Did you guys say the same thing?
Yes. Ours is juggling work because a lot of us have work on Christmas.
Wow, that's so true.
Also families as well.
Okay. Okay, last table.
We said the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, an added thing we said is if we have divorced parents, then you have like
It's even more.
four families and they all want a piece of you
Yes.
and then they guilt trip you. And they have competitions. We said competitions with the grandkids, their grandkids. They're trying to outdo one another and then you got to make room for the crap at your house.
Oh, right? It's so true. Okay, so luckily we're going to talk about just about every single one of those things this morning, okay? So we are first going to talk about how to plan, okay? Maybe you guys have heard the saying, it's a life changer for me. Failing to plan is planning to fail. That is true in my life. I've just found that if I could have a plan, failure is less likely to happen, okay? Not always, but usually. I've experienced several very chaotic, exhausting, unorganized holiday seasons, okay? And I've learned from those experiences what I do want the holidays to look like and what I don't want the holidays to look like for my family. So I'm hoping that you can learn maybe from my mistakes, and we'll go from there. But Neil and I had used to, when we were first married, especially with lots of little ones, struggled financially, right? Money came up, the gift giving. It is so expensive to be alive in December. It just is barely scraping by because of all the extra demands that come around during the holidays until I finally realized, well into adulthood actually, with a couple babies, one on each hip, that I didn't have to wait until November and December to plan for November and December. Luckily, Christmas comes at the exact same time every year. The same time. So I realized I was without excuse. I knew that it was coming no matter what. I couldn't stop it. It was going to come. So I was without excuse, and I could start getting prepared and having a plan before it came so that I could actually enjoy it when it came. So I thought of 4 kind of high demand areas, and most of them were mentioned, that cause you to spend higher amounts of money and effort in those few weeks than in any other time of the year, okay? So it would be gifts, we said gifts, food, travel, and I'm gonna throw in there decor, because I don't think that there's any other time of the year other than November and December where we kind of go all out. Does anybody else kind of go all out? I love decorating for Christmas, you guys. I love it. So that's something that I don't do any other time of the year other than this season. So we're going to talk real quick about all 4 of those things and how we can plan better for each one of them. So for gifts, let's talk about gifts real quick. There was a time when I had 2 babies that I shopped at the dollar store for their Christmas presents because they didn't care and I didn't care. And they were so happy with the little Tinker toys, right? With a newborn and a toddler, they didn't care. I had one little niece at the time, and I'd give maybe a small gift to some friends, but it wasn't that big of a deal. There wasn't as huge of a demand than there is now. Now I have a preteen, 3 elementary age kids, and a toddler. So if I were to try to give them gifts from the dollar store, it wouldn't go so well, right? So, as I learned that gradually, as my kids started to get a little older, I did want to bless them. I love to give gifts to my kids. So we learned how to do it a lot better. When I did start buying toys for my kids, I would go berserk on Black Friday, you guys. So my family would save all year long, okay? To be able to, 10 years ago, it was a lot different. Black Friday was a lot different. Do you remember this when stores opened at like 4 a.m. or something? Now they're open all day on Thanksgiving. But we would save for years, and I would wake up at 4 a.m. on Black Friday and spend the whole day shopping, and it was money that I was going to spend anyway throughout the year for kids' birthday parties. I would stock what we called a gift closet from the presents that I would buy on Black Friday. So if there was, and there really genuinely was awesome stuff for half off on Black Friday, sometimes even more. So if I found a $30 toy for $15, I'd buy 2 of them, one for a kid's Christmas gift and one for the gift closet. You do that enough times, and it came when my kid wants to go to a friend's birthday party, I could pick down 3 things and say, out of this Nerf gun, this tractor, and this hover star, what would Kelso like for his birthday party tomorrow? And he would say that one. So it helped immensely. Nowhere does it say that you have to buy gifts for Christmas right before Christmas, right? You can, if you're at GTM or if you're at a secondhand store or a thrift store and you see some things on sale, grab 1 or 2 if you can and store it. We lived in a condo, and there was an attic that wasn't meant for storage, but we used it for storage, and it worked great. We're like, oh, this roof moves. Here, we can put all of their presents up there. And we hid tons and tons of toys there. So if you have the ability to be able to have some kind of gift closet, it works immensely to be able, because it's also a time factor, right? I don't have the time when my kid gets invited to a birthday party or if there's a cousin's birthday or something like that to go to the store when I could go and shop from my little gift closet, okay? So if that's a little throw out free idea. Also, yeah, I mentioned that. Anybody have any ideas, any kind of hacks or tricks that you guys have that you would like to share about gift giving? Anything else? Yes, Lily.
Well, we homeschool under a charter school. We have funds. I use those funds for gift giving as much as possible.
But you have to return it? You have to return
I
it?
try to buy things that are consumable.
Awesome.
Like projects, kits.
Art supplies.
For adults, you can buy some cool stuff even for adults. I feel like I'm a homeschool teacher, I said that.
Awesome. What's another tip?
I like to browse Pinterest for really crafty things.
DIY stuff, right?
I can do some really, really inexpensive but heartfelt homemade things.
Yes, homemade things are great. That's it. And it's so much more meaningful to receive something that was made, right? Anybody else? Tips?
So I try to keep like a list on my phone, on my notes of like, oh, that would be a good gift for this person. That would be a good gift for this person. So then when it comes time to buy things, then I have an idea.
That's great. Great to keep a list. This person's birthday's coming up. I got to get this for them. This is coming up. This would be a good gift for them. So you can prioritize, save, and then get it when you're able to. Yes?
I actually don't find my own kids a ton because our house is really small and I know my mom will go over or extended family. And then when people ask what my kids want, I always say experiences. So
Oh, I love that.
zoo passes or things like that. So that would
Experiences. So zoo passes, fun stuff, things that they could do, right? Fun Believable when it opens. Please, please, please soon. Fun Believable or something like that. A pass for that is a great idea. I saw one more hand. Yes.
On Amazon.com, I like to put stuff in the cart or put it in save for later because it'll notify you when it drops in price a little bit.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Sales, I just got a deer cam on a flash sale for like 40% off, even though it's way ahead of time. Okay, I'm gonna get it right now.
That's great.
They're expensive. Also, not to do with money, but my kids, sometimes you can see it on their face when they're disappointed with the gift they got from somebody. So we practiced with the potato last year. Like, okay, I'm gonna give you a really
Oh, that's fantastic.
and you had so much fun acting. When you, thanks, Mom, I got a potato. Yes.
That is so sweet. They still are learning how to say thank you. They're learning to be grateful and have a good attitude. That's great. So my kids only get 3 presents each from our family. Jesus got 3. Our kids get 3, okay? That's what we say. They get 2 from mom and dad, And we kind of do the same. I'll write like a list of this would be great for Gavin, these 2 things. This would be great for Josiah, these 2 things. So we're able to budget, prepare, prioritize, buy it in advance if we need to, so that it's not all at once in December when your budget is already stretched and money is already tight. So you could do it in advance. And then on Thanksgiving night, all of my kids pick names, and whoever name they pick out of a brother, they buy that brother a gift. So 3 gifts total, 2 from mom and dad and 1 from each brother, and we make sure it's mixed up good. And normally they don't have money, so normally it's things that they not find, but like the church's rummage sale is so great for that, right? They'll buy stuff in advance for that, or at a yard sale or a garage sale. So they're looking for their brother's Christmas present for weeks and weeks before Christmas. Or the older ones that
How much in advance do you choose names for that?
on Thanksgiving night. So we'll take them to like thrift stores or a GTM, and they'll pick something that's cheaper. The older ones do have money, so they'll buy that present with their own money. Does that make sense? Or if I'm really nice, I can let them choose from the gift closet. Here's your 3 options. What would you like to give your brother for the littler ones? Does that make sense? So hopefully that helps a little bit with gifts, but save. There were times that Neil and I could only put like a few bucks a month into savings. So we put a few bucks a month into savings. I know friends that have their bank account does this thing. Maybe some of you guys are familiar with it. It'll automatically withdraw a certain amount of percentage or a certain amount from your account per month into a Christmas savings account. That's brilliant. So that when Christmas comes, there's the money that you need for Christmas. When Neil owned his auto detailing business, we would make twice as much in the summer when work was better than we would in the winter. So we opened an entirely different savings account in the summer, saved half of what we made in the summer to get us through the winter months, and it relieved us, and we were able to enjoy Christmas a little bit better because we weren't so strapped. So gifts, that was gifts. You guys had some awesome suggestions. Hopefully that will alleviate some stress coming up in the next few weeks. So food, how can we plan for food a little bit better? We tend to eat more. We tend to eat more specific foods. We tend to host more and entertain more and bake more and give food away more and just spend more time in the kitchen than in any other time in the year. So buy food, if you can, months ahead of time. I read an article years ago that said to stock up on things that have a long shelf life months before Christmas actually came. So things like sugar and flour, which aren't even available today, but things like that, like canned goods or seasonings and spices, canned pumpkins or canned condensed milk for fudge. I'm not a baker. I'm just not very good at baking, but around Christmas time, my kids and I go nuts baking cookies and breads and fudge, and so I'll start stocking up on some of those ingredients that have a long shelf life months in advance so that my grocery bill in December isn't triple what it normally is. It's more spaced out. Does that make sense? Rocked my world when I read that article. Having a chest freezer or an extra fridge. When we first got married, I bought a chest freezer on Craigslist or OfferUp, and we stock that months in advance for stuff that we know that we're going to use on Christmas. My family loves, we call them Christmas meatballs, and meatballs don't really go on sale around Christmas time. I wouldn't buy things like turkey or ham months in advance because those usually go on sale in higher demand. But my chest freezer is starting to already get stocked with things that I know I'm going to be making on Christmas, like Christmas meatballs. So the meatballs are already bought. They don't even have to go on my grocery bill or my grocery list. My list is already 2 pages long the 3 days before Christmas when I have to go shopping again because time and money is precious at that time. So as much as you can, buy food in advance. Having frozen appetizers saved in a chest freezer or in the downstairs garage freezer is so great when you have surprise guests or last-minute guests. You can just throw in some frozen appetizers and heat those up. Pre-make food. This rocked my world when I realized this. Did you know that you can make mashed potatoes a day or two in advance and store it in the fridge? And then on Thanksgiving, you can heat it up while the turkey is resting. If I host Thanksgiving, so while my turkey is resting, I can put a couple dishes in the oven that I've made the day before or 2 days before, and it doesn't taste any different. Mind blown, right? It was so, it rocked my world when I realized that you could do this. You could do that with several dishes. It doesn't taste any different, and it saves you so much time and so much effort. So even if if you're hosting a big gathering, or if you're going to be on your way to grandma's house soon, you could just take it out of the fridge and heat it up at grandma's house and actually sit down and enjoy a cup of coffee with your husband on Christmas Day or on Thanksgiving or with your in-laws or whatever, and be more present instead of so busy, I got to get this in, I got to do this. So do it ahead of time, pre-make food. Little side note that I just wanted to encourage you with is to have family favorite foods and recipes. Keep those kinds of traditions going or start them in your own families. Experiencing food and smelling food triggers memories that usually are not forgotten, okay? More than any of the other senses, smell sparks neural pathways in the brain that bring back memories, okay? You'll never confuse the smell of a turkey on Thanksgiving Day with a dentist office, right? You can't, they don't mix. And with each of those smells come memories that are just not forgotten. And there's so much science behind this, and smell can actually be used as a therapy for brain damaged individuals, which of course I know much about. So I'm still making dishes that my grandma made when I was a kid for my family, and we still do Christmas meatballs, and I still have my mom make her famous candied yams, and we still do fudge and all of the fun things that are memorable to me and meaningful to me to carry those out with my family. Every day after Thanksgiving or the weekend after Thanksgiving, we have a big event in my family where we decorate our house for Christmas, especially our Christmas tree. And we make peppermint shortbread cookies. We have our first sip of eggnog, and we put on the Praise Baby DVD for whoever the baby is that year, so they'll stay away from the decorating. And my kids know that that event is coming, and when they smell those peppermint cookies, I know that that is creating this memory in them that's going to be positive and that they're never going to forget. So using food, experiencing food and tradition together are going to be monumental in creating a beautiful memory for your kids' childhood around the holidays. So just to throw that out there, it's so beautiful to leave those beautiful impressions in their hearts and minds about the holidays. So if you don't have any that you can think of, create your own. We have too many to even count because I love that kind of stuff. But just to throw that out there. So travel. How can we plan for travel? A lot of us travel around the holidays, and traveling can be so expensive. How many plan on traveling for Thanksgiving or Christmas outside of California? Anybody? Nobody outside of California? One. What about outside of San Diego? Going for a drive? You guys are going for a drive? Okay. So pretty obvious, the best way probably to plan if you're going to travel is to, as much as possible, save ahead of time, which is sometimes impossible to do. I get it. The day that you go to grandma's house for the 3-hour drive, you pay for gas the day that you go for the 3-hour drive, right? So as much as you can, I would encourage you to save. Every time we go on a vacation, we'll put money in an envelope in advance, 3 to 5 months in advance sometimes, just little bits into an envelope, so that when we do leave and when we do go on vacation, we have this that's going to help us to party instead of having nothing, right? So as much as you can, save ahead of time. If you know you're going to be traveling, start thinking now or weeks, months in advance about how you can prepare for that trip. Remember, failing to plan is planning to fail. So you can start planning now. How am I going to make that drive? How are we going to make this 4-hour drive to grandma's house 3 days before Christmas? Start making a plan now. So tips for traveling with kids, even if you're just going for a 30-minute drive or a 3-hour drive, you can always slap some headphones on your kids, right? And put them in front of an iPad or an iPhone or a tablet, which we've done. But if you want to be more engaged with your kids and take advantage of the time that they're not in school, which I feel like is usually the better option, here's some little tips that will probably help traveling be better. We used to take a 6-hour drive once a year with my kids when we had, one year they were 4 boys, ages 5 and under. So I went to the dollar store ahead of time and bought a ton of just little fidgety things, fidget spinners, mini transformers, mini Lego sets, silly putty, not slime or Play-Doh, right? Those are outside things, but silly putty or little things that they could do with their hands in their laps. And I bought a bunch of them and wrapped them, just quick wrap, not even with tape, just in individual tissue paper. And we told the kids every 30 minutes that you guys don't fight, you don't argue, you don't whatever, disbehave, then you will get a prize. And they were so into it. And sure enough, every 30 minutes, all right, Kevin, Josiah, Landon, and they're like, oh, wow, and it only lasts for 30 minutes because then they break, right, because it's from the dollar store. So if they are good and another 30 minutes goes by, and it costs me so little to keep them entertained and happy and engaged. Or buy no-mess coloring books. These are fantastic. The markers that only work on the special paper, not on the car walls, right? Those are great. You can get those anywhere. Those Water Wow books, have you guys seen those where you fill the pen with water? It doesn't stain, it's awesome, it dries. And you color the book with the water, and in 10 minutes, it's dry and the picture disappears again. So you can say, color it again. And they do. My toddler loves them. Even things like, of course, books on or stories on CD or Audible books, sing songs. My kids, even my big kids, if I break out in a song while we're on a car ride, they'll chime in, depending on the song, of course. If I start singing like the Barney theme song, I'll get their shoes thrown at me. But have some fun with your kids. Pack snacks. We will do lots of snacks in the car, not crumbly snacks or wet snacks, of course, but to keep their mouths and their hands busy. Anybody have a couple ideas of good tips that they've learned of how to travel with little kids? Yes. Yes!
So they'll have to find letters on highway signs. So, I see an A, I see a B, and we go all the way through.
Exactly.
Kind of fudge the hard ones. So that.
That was a J. That was a J. Back that way. Yes, the alphabet game is a great one. Or car bingo, right? Or a scavenger hunt, a car ride scavenger hunt. Those are great ways to travel with kids. Decor. How can we plan for decorating around the holidays? I'm a big decorator, and it is so tempting to buy Thanksgiving decor before Thanksgiving and Christmas decor before Christmas. There are some sales, but if you can wait for the day after the holidays, everything is on clearance, 50 to 70, 75% off. My house is stocked with clearance stuff from the day after the holiday. So year-round even, in some places like thrift stores or GTM or rummage sales, yard sales, there's a lot of holiday decor there that you can purchase at pennies on the dollar and use that to decorate your home. My mom and my aunt, my grandma, my cousins used to every year go to Pottery Barn and Crate and Barrel, which tend to be pricey, the day after Christmas. And I had saved, knowing that we were going to do this ahead of time, saved. And once we got there, we stocked up on gift wrap, gourmet, beautiful gift wrap, glass Crate and Barrel ornaments that broke the next year anyway, or just these beautiful holiday decorations, serveware, dishes, things that were on clearance that were like 75% off, and it was so fun to use them the following Christmas. So I do that at Ross, or Hobby Lobby is really fantastic for that now too. So Next, we are going to prioritize. So we talked about planning, how to plan better for the holidays with gifts and food and travel and decor. We're going to talk about how to prioritize. There are so many demands on our time, particularly in December, so it's important to choose to also slow down and actually enjoy it. We can't do it all, right? One year we were so unbelievably busy in December. We had a 30-day devotional that we wanted, a Christmas devotional that we wanted to do with our kids. And after something like 5 nights in a row that we couldn't do it with our kids, I ended up saying to Neil, something's wrong if we are going 5 days in a row without being able to do Christmas devotions with our kids. We were just out at night with all of the things, because there's always things to go to and things to see and places to be and people to please. And we ended up having to cancel a few things so that we could spend more time at home, sitting around the fire, lighting Christmas candles, having hot apple cider, baking Christmas goodies, and doing our Christmas devotional and actually spending time together and enjoying the season. So for the most part, I have learned to book our December calendar before December 1st. So this is not every day, like every day in December is not booked or committed with something, just the important things. The things that are important to us, I schedule in advance. So several things that we really like to do as a family in December are, we love to go to Viejas and watch the water show. They have fake snow that comes down, and there's like a light show and a fire show, and they play Christmas music. It's a really big event, and we've done it since our oldest was a baby. We have hot chocolate and eat dinner there, bundle up with scarves and mittens, and we love it. So we like to do that. 2 or 3 nights, we like to go visit Christmas lights, neighborhood Christmas lights. One night, we make and decorate gingerbread houses, which is another event in our house. We don't spend like 30 minutes doing this. We spend like 3 hours doing this. We bring a meal to a homeless person. We're trying to teach our kids the value of giving around the holidays, right? Without always expecting something in return, and a homeless person cannot give anything in return. So we usually buy them KFC, drop it off, and just say, God bless you, Merry Christmas. And we go, and they get a meal. We go and visit an elderly person, and we bring them Christmas goodies. My kids play Christmas songs for them on the piano. We sing songs for them, sing Christmas carols to them. So we do that one night. There's other things that we do as well, but between all of those things, which are important to us, the Sunday night Christmas events that were announced, kids club and home group, my kids' Christmas piano recital, there's not a lot of time to choose from to do everything that we want to do to enjoy the season and to make memories together as a family. One year, we actually didn't get to do a lot of the things that were important to us because we just kept saying yes to everything that came along the way. We didn't have anything and everything booked. So 3 days before Christmas, we realized we never even made gingerbread houses. We never even went to this place. We didn't even get to visit Great-Grandma Ruth. We didn't even do any of these things because we did everything else that wasn't as important to us. So now Neil and I tentatively schedule our December calendar for the most part so that when something comes up, because something always will, and we can look at our calendar and honestly say, I'm so sorry. I wish we could, but we are booked that night. Or, wow, we do have that night available. We'll be there. That sounds great. But that way, everything that's important to us is already committed in a sense, okay? So something that I get asked often, and it was brought up, I would say the most, right, is how to juggle and prioritize family demands around the holidays with in-laws, distant family members coming in, wanting your time. Your husband's family wants you to come to their house for Thanksgiving, but you want to stay at your family's house for Thanksgiving. Grandma wants you to come to breakfast Christmas Day at 8 a.m. like you always have before you were married. So there's a lot of requests and demands, especially as newlyweds or especially with a new baby, right? So I want to throw some ideas and some suggestions out to you. I could say, you can't make everybody happy, right? But the truth is you could. You could make everybody happy. You could make everybody happy and do what your parents and your in-laws and your grandparents and your cousins want you to do for Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So my question instead would be, What would it cost you to make everybody happy, and is it worth it? Okay, because the truth is that answer is going to be different for all of us. It may be yes, it may be no, it may be yes on these days, it may be no on these days, and it could change from year to year, and that's okay. When we first got married, we saw the potential for this issue being a problem. My mom is one of 6 kids, so she came from a big family. Holidays are a big thing, they're a big deal. Neil came from 2 big families. Hoffmans and Dings are both big. And we saw that this was going to be an issue because I wanted to spend Christmas and Thanksgiving with my family, and he wanted to spend Christmas and Thanksgiving with his family. So when we were first married, we did it all. We did the 2 Thanksgivings. We were at this family for Thanksgiving morning or afternoon, and that family for Thanksgiving night, and 14 Christmases or something, I don't know. But we did it all. And honestly, it was a little exhausting, but it was kind of fun because it was just he and I wasn't going to host, and we didn't want anybody at our house. So we just did it all. Then, after it got kind of exhausting, we realized that we needed to find a different system. So we ended up doing alternate holidays with alternate families. And we kind of made this known. So we would do Thanksgiving Day, let's say, with my family. Then we would do Christmas Day with his family. The next year it would switch. That way, there was an understanding amongst all families that we're not going to be able to be there this year, but we'll do Christmas with you. We'll be there the Christmas Day. We can stay all day if you want us to. Or we would do Christmas on a different day or Thanksgiving on a different day, but we were done doing all 2 or 3 family things on one day. Does that make sense? Then we started having babies, and a lot of them. And the more kids we started having, the more we realized that we had to prefer our kids and their nap time and their bedtime and their routine. So for us, the answer to the question, what would it cost us to make everybody happy and is it worth it, began to change a little bit. When I'm expected to drag, you guys understand, when I'm expected to drag 2 toddlers and a newborn to all of these different places and demand that they behave, even though they had a 20-minute nap in the car on the way to grandma's house instead of a 2-hour nap in their bed, and you had to pack a suitcase full of jammies and diapers and wipes and clothes and sippy cups and snacks and all of the other things, right? It became less and less worth it, and we needed to start prioritizing what worked best for our family. So it came to the point where sometimes we would have to say, I'm so sorry, we can't be there at 12:30 because that's when our little guys are napping, but we can be there at 2:30, and can we bring snacks and drinks for the afternoon? And you know what? We can even stay later that night because our little guys will be more rested. Does that make sense? So you're making it work for your family more. Now, because I have a child with disabilities who thrives at home and only at home, we host everything. Everything. There was a time you couldn't pay me to host anything. I was like, don't come over, please. But now we do everything. And we say, we'll be home all day on Christmas. You're welcome to come over. Anybody and everybody is welcome to come over after 11:30. So my family, we have our tradition at up until 11:30, we go slowly. We open our gifts slowly. And we have these traditions that are important to us that we used to do with parents and grandparents, but I just feel like I was missing it a little bit. So we do, because I have a lot of kids. So we do it. We just get our special time. Normally around 11:30 or 12, Neil's family comes over, and then later the afternoon, my family will come over, and I tell them I'll have food out all day long. I'll get a head count to know who I'm cooking for and how many I'm preparing for. I'll usually ask them to bring a dish or 2 to share, and it is set. My little guys get to nap in their own room, and it is so much more enjoyable. And then we'll normally do like a Christmas dinner for a couple hours somewhere that night, but the day is slow, and it's so much more enjoyable. So the answers to the question for me, what would it cost to make everybody happy and is it worth it, are just different now than it was 10 years ago. And it may change, and that's okay, right? Parenting, it changes, you guys. You can't make a one-time decision with stuff like this because your kids are going to grow up and your priorities are going to be different, and that's okay. It's never a one-time decision with calendaring and scheduling. It has to be fluid. But in order to have boundaries, to protect your priorities, you need to know what your priorities are. And I think for a long time, I didn't even know what mine are. I just did everything everybody expected me to do because that's what made them happy. And I wanted everybody to be happy. So now we've learned to evaluate what is important to our family. How can we do this for them and this for them, but what do we also want? So what is most important to you? You don't have to answer. You're actually going to answer later in your table talk time at the end. But what's the most important thing to you? If you could do like 2 things this holiday season, this Christmas, with your family, what would that be? And what would it be for your husband? You could ask him that. Babe, what if you could pick 2 things that we would carve out time for? What was the most important things to you? Or your kids? Kids, if you could choose one thing this Christmas that you would love to do sometime in December, what would that be? No, we're not going to go to Disneyland for a month. What was your second favorite thing, right? And pick their brains. Find out what could we carve out time to do as a family to make Christmas more meaningful and purposeful for us and more memorable and special. So I would encourage you, and we're going to do this later, to make a list of your must-dos. This is stuff we have to do. And maybe a list of your should-dos underneath that. And if we have time to-dos, right? Because maybe there are some things that could be fun, but not if we don't have the time to do it. We do want to leave some open space. And I will say I book home nights in our calendar. So these are nights that are untouched. We're just going to be home around the fire, maybe watching a Christmas movie, all in Christmas jammies. We book those. Those are important to us. So we make sure that there's several of those in our calendar. You schedule the must-dos first, right? So that's to prioritize. We talked about prioritizing. Let's talk about preparing. How do you prepare your home and your family for the holidays? Involve your kids, ladies, of all ages, in meal prep, in house prep for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Guest prep even, if you're hosting anything. When my kids were little, I would buy a plastic tablecloth at the 99-cent store and would get some Thanksgiving stickers and some glitter glue and whatever else, markers, lay it on the floor and have them decorate it. That was going to be the tablecloth for the kid table on Thanksgiving. Cleanup was awesome on Thanksgiving because then you just fold it up and throw it away. But it kept them entertained for so long, and I was able to get cooking done and cleaning done and stuff that only I could do. They could do that. I needed to stick with the things that only I could do. I always have my kids help make dishes for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Even toddlers, even if the little toddlers can throw in this or stir that, they feel so accomplished that they were able to participate in something grand. If I say, yep, Trey helped make the pumpkin pie, he's like, I did, you know? Last year, my 2-year-old helped with all of the little things, and he felt like he was the most accomplished, special little boy in the world. Now that my kids are older, I have an 11-year-old, 10-year-old, and an 8.5-year-old, I delegate to them, actually they choose what they're going to make for Thanksgiving, at least, because we host Thanksgiving. And I say, this is our Thanksgiving menu. What do you want to make? And they'll pick it. And I will facilitate, and I'll watch, and I'll help, but they're learning to make or follow a recipe and to make this dish. So when family comes over and Josiah's like, I made the pumpkin pie cake, he really did. And Landon says, I made the mashed potatoes, and Gavin said, I made the sweet potato casserole. They feel so honored to be a part of something, and I really did get to get other things done. So do what only you can do. My family, my kids and I have this agreement that when we host, we clean up before and we clean up after. It's not just me, so I'll give my kids a list of things that they can do before guests arrive, and when you're done, you get to watch a show. So things like emptying the trash or vacuuming or this and that, little things, you can give your toddler baby wipes and say, could you scrub that? Even just for 5 minutes. When the timer rings, then you can be done. Little things to get them busy and helpful so that you can do, again, what only you can do. When it comes to preparing for a holiday or an event or a Christmas party, do as much prep, of course, as you can beforehand so that you can be more present during the actual event. It's so stressful. It's awful being stressed out on Christmas Day because your house is messy and the laundry hadn't been done in 3 or 4 days, right? And the dishwasher's full, but it never ran, and so you have all of these 87 dishes with nowhere to go. And so I'll actually schedule 2, 3, 4 days maybe in advance of when we're going to be hosting a holiday to do those things. This is laundry day. This is baking day. This is clean the house day, so that I get to sit and have a cup of coffee with my husband or enjoy and laugh at my kids instead of doing all of the little things that could have been done beforehand. Okay. Anybody want to add anything about how to prep with your kids or your family before gatherings or before going anywhere? Any tips on preparing that you guys want to share?
I'll say something. Our families have been good about being flexible with the days that we celebrate on.
That's great.
Like last year with Isaiah's mom's side, my husband's mom's side, we celebrated like a week in advance. And then with my
Yes.
Christmas Eve, but they've been a little more flexible.
God bless your family for being willing to do that too. That's great. Being able to schedule doing Christmas a week in advance or Thanksgiving a couple days in advance or a couple days later. If your family's willing to do that, that's really beautiful. Some families don't want to do that. Good for you. Good for you. All right, last, how to practice the most important truths. How can we make sure that what our kids remember most about Thanksgiving and Christmas are the truth about Thanksgiving and Christmas? So the reason we celebrate Thanksgiving, right, it doesn't get too far off of the real deal, okay? But make sure your kids know the story. The story is awesome. I got this book, you guys, for, it says $3.99. I didn't pay $3.99. I think I spent $1.50 or something for this on Amazon, and it's not even used. But the story of the Pilgrims. Make sure that your kids know the story that the King of England wouldn't allow the people there to worship God. He would, in their own way, he wouldn't allow it. So they risked their lives to come here so that they could worship God and to be Christians freely. That's where it all started. The story of Squanto, you guys, is amazing. Do you know the real story of Squanto? This is Squanto's journey. I got this on Amazon just a few weeks ago for super cheap, just a few bucks. Squanto was born in 1590. Okay, he was a leader in his tribe. And when Englishmen came in 1614 to his bay to trade and to fish there, he and 20 other Indians were lied to by a man named Thomas Hunt. He tricked them saying, "Come to our ship, there's food, there's a big feast." And so Squanto and 20 Indians got onto their ship and they sailed off. Squanto never saw his family again. They all died from disease, and they stole them to sell them as slaves to Spain. They went to Spain. In Spain, Christians, particularly a friar, was able to free Squanto and these Indians and get them to England. And in England, Squanto knew that Englishmen often sailed to his homeland, to America. So he thought, if I can befriend these people, if I can learn their language, then maybe they would take them with me on one of their voyages to America. He spent 5.5 years learning English so that by the time he came back, that's how he was able to communicate with the Pilgrims. That's why the Pilgrims were able to learn about how to plant corn and how to fish and how to do all these things that the Indians were experts in, because he spoke English, because he was going to be a slave. It's like a 1600s version of the story of Joseph. Teach your kids that God's hand is woven all throughout that story, and this book explains it in great detail, and it's awesome. Make sure your kids know about the truth about these holidays. Have your kids practice we did this when I was a kid. We would put on a Thanksgiving play, and we would act out the Thanksgiving story, and I never forgot it. I know the Thanksgiving story because of that. You can encourage your kids to do something like that. My oldest last year, when he was in 5th grade, did what his school called a 24-hour challenge, where he had to stay outdoors for a full 24 hours. and I loved it. I'm like, have fun! we packed everything. He packed everything that he needed for 24 hours. He got a tent. He learned how to make a fire all by himself, how to stay warm. So this year, I'm changing it. We're homeschooling our 2 oldest this year. So Gavin and Josiah, the day before Thanksgiving, we're kicking them out. They know it. For 24 hours, they have to set up a tent. They have to pack everything that they need, and we're calling it their 24-hour pilgrim challenge. And they're going to find out what it was like to live as pilgrims, to prepare and how to stay warm and how to get shelter when you need it. And they're going to learn about what the pilgrims had to do to feed themselves. My son literally went to our chicken coop, got eggs, and cooked them over the fire last year for breakfast. It was awesome. It was awesome. So growing up, my family did a Thanksgiving wreath where we all put what we're thankful for on a Thanksgiving wreath. A few years ago, we started doing a Thanksgiving tree at our house where I would just get like construction paper and made a tree on our wall. And I cut out, I didn't cut off my kids' hands. I cut out their handprints and use it as leaves. And there was a little station, and anytime anybody wanted to get a leaf, which was their handprint, and write something they're thankful for, we'd put it on the thankful tree, and by Thanksgiving, we do that for a couple weeks before Thanksgiving. By Thanksgiving, there's just dozens and dozens of handprints, and it's this beautiful tree. Pinterest is awesome for getting fun ideas of how to express your gratitude, right, for on Thanksgiving. There's lots of ideas to teach your kids how to express what they're thankful for. So point is to drive home and teach the important truths about Thanksgiving to our kids. Let's talk about Christmas. We decided when we became parents that we were going to be honest with our kids about Santa Claus. That Saint Nicholas was a real person who loved Jesus, and he gave anonymous gifts to children. He was a leader in his church. He loved Jesus. He was a good and a selfless man, and that he's the reason why the figure of Santa Claus is celebrated today. I don't have any problem with Santa Claus, but we decided to let pretend be pretend, and we wanted our kids to know the truth. Now, if you want to do Santa Claus with your kids, it's so fun. I get it. More power to you, okay? But we don't teach our kids that he's real, but we teach our kids that some parents want their kids to think Santa's real. And it's like a game, but you don't get to spoil it because it's up to the parents to tell the kids when Santa's real, okay? And we haven't had any problems with that so far, okay? But when I was a kid, I was taught Santa was real to the point that I would wake up Christmas morning like with my arms wrapped around toys, okay? And I'd wake up, and there'd be toys all over me, and I'd scream, and my mom would rush in, and she'd say, he came! I heard the reindeer bells, and I heard the reindeer hoofs on the roof last night. And I'm like, he came for me! That's how it felt. It was. I tried to stay up all night on Christmas Eve, trying to get a glimpse of this man that loved me. He loved me. And I was told to write letters to Santa. I wrote letters to Santa, and I mailed them in my mailbox because I knew he was going to get these letters, and I was reminded to be good. You be good if you don't want to get coal, right? So when I learned that Santa wasn't real, I was a wreck. I was a wreck as a kid. The mysterious relationship that I had with this Santa Claus figure was a priority in my life during Christmas time. It really was. And maybe you don't have an emotional wreck of a story like I do, but to me, I felt lied to. Now, it was all in the name of fun, and it was fun. It totally was fun, but eventually, the truth is going to come out, right? Eventually, they're actually going to learn that Santa Claus isn't a real person, that Saint Nicholas was. So we have this book that we love. It says, Santa, Are You For Real? And it talks about how Saint Nick is a real person and that he loved to give gifts, and it differentiates the two figures, the two people, okay? So because I felt lied to and I kind of felt like betrayed that this person that I loved, this person that loved me was fake, that we just decided to just be honest with our kids from the very beginning. So we want to emphasize the truth with our kids. So when we go to see Christmas lights in neighborhoods, we count nativities. So we're looking for the truth. And they don't even know that there's like purpose behind this fun game, but we're like, there's one neighborhood where that they always win. This one neighborhood has the most nativities, and I think we got to 14 one time, and we're like, that neighborhood's the best. So we're looking, there's a nativity, there's another one, look, there's one on that roof. So they're more focused on what's true, okay? And that's just a fun little thing that we do to keep their eyes on the truth. We start talking to our kids early, like in October even, about Jesus' birthday is coming up. And you know what? On Jesus' birthday, Jesus wants us to give gifts to each other on his birthday. Isn't Jesus so selfless? Isn't Jesus just amazing that he wants us to give gifts to each other? So we're saying things like that to our kids. We've actually thrown Jesus birthday parties. My husband's birthday is Christmas Eve. Poor thing, I know, right? Poor thing. But so we decorate our house, we have a birthday cake, and we sing, "Happy birthday, Daddy and Jesus." And my kids know that this is his day, that we celebrate and give gifts because of him, because of the gift that he gave to us, that it's our whole world, all of Christianity is here because God decided to become one of us so that we could be saved. So make sure that we're practicing the most important truths on Christmas. I wanted to, while we're wrapping up, there are some table talk questions that I wanted to ask you guys to talk about. Anything else that you guys wanted to add about how to teach your kids the truth, or any other tips or tricks on that? Maybe how you were brought up. Yes.
Well, it's kind of a comment. So you mentioned about like the nativities and not having Santa Claus, and I just wanted to say, so there's like a place for tradition, and then there's a place for the truth. And I think it's important, whether it's for food or gifts or anything, it's okay to stray from tradition.
Oh, yes.
If you're telling your kids this is why we're doing it, and even to make new traditions.
Absolutely.
I'm a tradition breaker, so maybe that's why I say that.
Yeah,
But and I think, yeah. So I just want to say, so there's a place for both of those. Even if you're
absolutely.
Christian home, it's okay to make your own traditions or deviate to your own.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, my best friend growing up did Santa gifts. So every kid got a huge gift from Santa on Christmas Eve. They all loved it. They did it until they were in their 20s, right? The kids. Here's your Santa gift. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So I just was encouraging you to make sure that we're making the most important things the most important things. Do you know what I mean? So your table talk questions are they up on the screen? Did we get those up there? No? Okay, no problem. So there's 4 of them, so this may be hard to remember. But if you can think of them, we talked about how to plan, how to prioritize, how to prepare, and how to practice the most important truths. So how can I be better at planning for this holiday season? Remember, we talked about 4 things that cost a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money. That was food, gifts, travel, and decoration. How can you, at your table, do a better job at planning? What would be the most important thing that you'd like to prioritize this Christmas? What would you like to prioritize? What would be the most important thing for you to prioritize? Third, how can you delegate some of the preparation that comes with this holiday season? How can you delegate some of the preparation to make sure that only you are doing what only you can do? And what is something that your family does to practice teaching your kids the truth about the holidays? What are you doing to help practice the truth? Or what is something you'd like to start doing to teach your kids and to reinforce the truth about Christmas? Go ahead and spend some time talking about that amongst your tables. I'll come join you guys.